Mr. Limada. He will be starting soon. Oh, story time with Mr. Limada, where all your dreams come true. Oh, he brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't leave lonely, won't you start all the reading? I just can't wait to be hearing story time with Mr. Limada. He will be starting soon. Oh, story time with Mr. Limada, where all your dreams come true. Oh, he brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't leave lonely, you won't just start all the reading. I just can't wait to be hearing.
Good morning, and welcome to Storytime. Thank you so much for joining me, and happy Monday to you and yours, wherever you're joining us from today. Welcome, and please let us know where you're joining in from and who is joining in with you. It is always a pleasure to be here with you on Storytime, and yes, something that we do not take for granted. Thank you for being here with us. And as you can see today, we do have an amazing guest, somebody whose books we've read here on Storytime and has supported Storytime in so many different ways over the years. And we are so glad to have Grant Snyder here with us on Storytime, and he'll be coming up very, very shortly. But please remember to let us know where you're joining in from. And remember, too, that you can catch Storytime at storytimewithmrlimada.com, at Storytime with Mr. Limada on YouTube right here, and also on Facebook. Thank you so much for joining us here. And let your friends know that Storytime is here. Come on out and join us. And also follow us on Instagram and find out everything Storytime. Thank you so much for joining us today. This man that is joining us today, well, the body of work speaks for itself. Amazing books, as you know. I've gone crazy over a few of them that we've brought here, including one of my favorites, What Sound is Morning. And every time I sit here before coming on live, I can hear the train in the distance, and also just different sounds that make up my morning here. And of course, just getting ready to all the different clunking and clinking sounds that happen near me. So what sound is your morning there? And of course, we have man that created that for us and has given us, that perspective, has tunneled through that for us to be thinking that. Thank you so much for joining us here on Storytime today, and I hope that you are well. Please drop us a message. Let us know you're here and excited to be here with you on this very special day, November 6th, Monday. Thank you so much for joining us on Storytime. Please join me in welcoming today to Storytime the author of this brand new, amazing picture book, Nothing Ever Happens on a Great Day. Well, it is a great day out here in Oakland today, but guess what? A lot of things are happening. We do have a special guest. Please join me in welcoming Grant Snyder to Storytime. Welcome to Storytime, Grant.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for having me so much.
It's so good to have you here. And it's just, I feel like it's the perfect day to read this book here with us, because it's Nothing Ever Happens on a Great Day. And it is an actual great day out here in Oakland, but it's starting off with excitement.
Yeah, same here. I don't know if you can see out my window. There's not much to see, but it's very foggy. So if you go outside in my backyard, you see some trees and then just this gray mist. So it's perfect.
Yeah.
Finally.
I love it. So what inspired this one then?
So I've always loved to explore nature on gray days, but I think where it started was I had this very specific image of myself as a child riding my bike in circles on the driveway on an overcast day, thinking, man, I wish that something would happen. I was feeling a little bit bored, but I also had this sense of anticipation. Like, if I just wait long enough, if I just start exploring, maybe I'll find something amazing today.
Yeah.
So that was really the seed for the story. I used this character riding her red bicycle, kind of like I did, but way back when, and I went from there.
I love it. I love it. And let's just see too. We have people with us as well. Good morning to you, Oscar, out in Katete, Zambia, east of Zambia. Much later in the day where you are. Thank you so much for joining us, Oscar, and of course the family out there as well. And you saying good morning to us on this side. Yes, it is morning. Grant is 2 hours ahead of me, I think. Is it? Or is it 2 hours?
Yeah, it's very early morning for you right now. I'm just kind of settling into my mid-morning routine.
Right. And Quincy out nearby right here in Marin, good morning to you. And you say, and the geese wake us up. So that's the sound of your morning. Thank you so much for sharing that, Lynette. And of course, Quincy, good to see you here on Storytime actually live. I know that the timing doesn't always line up for you and I. So thank you so much for joining us here live on Storytime today. And you say it is raining out in Marin, just like it is out here in Oakland as well. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime. And Grant, too, I have, just another question that comes up is, your book seems so reflective, like just there's a lot of just contemplation and melancholy sort of. So I just wondered, like, how would you describe your books, and what do you think of that theme as a thread through your books?
So I like the word reflective. Melancholy sometimes works. I think my editor described it as picture books for introverts, of which I've been one my whole life. So I feel like a lot of my books are a little bit quieter, a little bit more peaceful. There's not quite the big emotional swings as you might find in some other authors' work, but they do have a calming stillness to them, hopefully. And I think hopefully some moments of humor, hopefully some moments of wonder. Those are all things I try to achieve in my picture books and my comics.
Yeah, no, definitely feel that. And I was just looking at this morning again. I went back into this one, The Art of Living, and I think it was the iridescent page. And I was just looking at it and thinking just how much it resonated. And so just wondering for you, it's like, how much of this, you mentioned being an introvert yourself and that inspiring your creative process, but how much of the world around you inspires you as well?
Yeah, I think it's like when the work clicks for me, and when a comic like that or a poem like that works best is when I'm looking at something outside of me and it's bringing up some emotion within me. And so it's that connection of the inner outer world that I think makes a good poem, a good comic, a good picture book. It's always sometimes a little bit hard to click. Sometimes I'm too wrapped up on what's going on with inside. Sometimes I'm just so focused on the outer, but melding the two is really powerful. And the way that usually an idea like that usually starts is just by my sketchbook. So I think the one thing I tell young authors, illustrators, artists is just keep a notebook with you. And so when you're looking at something, you can put it down on paper and say, oh, okay, that's what that looks like. When you have a thought or a feeling, or maybe a line of a story that comes to you, scribble it down on paper. And then when you go back to, make a story, make a comic, make a poem, you have that thing you experienced out in the world, and you can go back to it and reflect on it a little more deeply.
Yeah. No, I love it. And thanks for that tip too. I know, and thank you, because I know I got a beautiful notepad from you that I've been able to jot down a few things, which has been great. And then also just getting to observe you when you were visiting Oakland, just observing how you navigated the space and were jotting down things. It's just fascinating to see. I really got to appreciate that insight of your creativity or your creative process.
Yeah, thank you. And my wife Kayla and I got a chance to visit Peter and Lydia in Oakland, and it was an amazing time. They took us on a tour of the city, and we got to walk under the redwoods and see a lot of things we don't get to see in Kansas, nature-wise. So, and one of the good things about being an introvert is you can always, when you're tired of having a conversation, just turn to your sketchbook, scribble a little bit, and like, oh, he's working his sketchbook again. So, but no, that was an amazing time earlier this summer we got to visit. So thank you.
No, I'm so glad you did. Yeah, and looking forward to the next one for sure. But I know that today you're here first of all, to read a book with us, and you're reading your brand new picture book. I'm excited for that one. So Grant will be reading this one to us. Nothing ever happens on a gray day. And I must say, too, a big thank you to Chronicle Books of San Francisco for allowing us to read this book here on Storytime, and just helping create wonderful books like this one, and especially this one today. Thank you for being here. Pamela Courtney, and of course, Chad out in Natchitoches, Louisiana. Thank you so much for being here and say hello to the Storytime family. Thank you indeed. And you're saying it is cloudy where you are. Gray days are here today. I think, Grant, you came on a very, very special day, particular day for that, instead of a really groovy, sunshiny day. Well, let's see if we can get this gray day pumping. Let's go. All yours after. I'll be back after the reading.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lamada. So my book is called Nothing Ever Happens on a Gray Day, published by Chronicle Books. And it starts, if you look inside the front cover of a book, you'll find what are called the end papers. And the end papers were inspired by walking in the forest, seeing these leaves, kind of gray and brown colored, crunching along. And here we have the title page. And so you can see this girl staring outside on her balcony on a gray day, wondering what's going to happen, and starting maybe feeling a little bit bored. And we'll see where that journey takes her. Nothing ever happens on a gray day. Low clouds scrape the treetops. Small drops speckle the sidewalk. But even the rain is too bored to fall. There is nothing to do on a gray day except ride my rickety bike. I pedal through piles of crackly leaves, past quiet apartments and loud barking dogs. I ride past the empty swimming pool and the full bus lot. Without touching the brakes, I fly down the biggest hill in town. I don't slow down. Until I reach the playground. Is anything happening here? And when I'm reading this book to my own kids or to a class of students, I stop and ask, so, okay, how is she feeling now? She's maybe a little bit curious about where this journey is taking her. She's maybe still feeling bored. She's wondering, okay, is the playground going to be the place where I find something to happen on my gray day? And then I take a survey. Who thinks that she's going to find excitement on the playground? And who thinks she'll still be a little bit bored and frustrated? Let's turn the page and find out. Hello, lonely seesaws. Hello, sad merry-go-round. Nothing much is happening. And if you've ever been to a bright, colorful playground on a kind of a gray day like this, it doesn't feel so bright and sunny sometimes. And you can see her mood in the picture is still a little bit bored. Everything is gray today. Maybe I should head back home. Then beyond the fence, I discover. You look back beyond the fence, beyond the playground. A winding path. And if you look closely at this page, you can see all different kinds of animals hiding in the forest. There's a cardinal, there's a little mouse, there's a tiny snail, there's a squirrel, there's a woodpecker. Now she's walking through the woods. Leaves crunch under my feet. Ivy climbs up gnarled trees. I toss a hedge apple in the water with a splash. I scamper down a steep bank. Until I reach the creek. As I tiptoe across the slippery rocks, I wonder, what will I find on the other side? So she's crossing the rocks. You can look over here and maybe see a little bit of where she's going to have her adventure. A forgotten castle, a secret hideout, a deep dark cave, echo, echo, echo. And it's fun if you're looking at this book at home or on the screen, look into it and shout, echo, echo, echo. My mind feels quiet as I listen to the trickling water and whispering leaves, and I wait. And you can see something approaching from the top corner. For something to happen. I watch and wonder until the moment passes. Hello, red bike. Hello, yellow leaf. Hello, blue sky. Anything can happen on a gray day. And then the final end papers, you can see there's a splash of brightly colored leaves. And hopefully the character in the story has gone from feeling that kind of dull gray feeling to this bright, colorful, excited feeling all through her journey on a gray day.
Oh, that is so beautiful. Thank you for reading to us, Grant, and just sharing that wonderful book. And as you're going, as I was, like as you were reading through, your language is so colorful as well, and so just wondered, like, what inspires your language, or what, like how do you go about deciding what words to use and approach things like that?
Yeah, I think one of the fun things about making a picture book is you can't put very many words into it. So you have to choose the right ones, the ones that are going to be the most powerful on a page that only has maybe a sentence or two. So a word like rickety, a rickety bike, you can, when I hear that word, you're thinking a little bit about how that bike sounds. Maybe that's a bike that was found at a garage sale, or one that was passed down from another sibling.
Yeah.
That's kind of clanking along and maybe feeling a little wobbly as you're riding down the sidewalk. So that word is evoking some senses. Crackly leaves. If you walk down a street and fall, or ride your bike down a street and fall, leaves are going to crackle underfoot. And that's bringing to mind like the sound they make, but maybe also how they look. Maybe they've fallen and have kind of dried out and are giving you some sense of fall as you're walking down the sidewalk. So just finding those poetic words that maybe evoke like a sense, sound, sight, taste, or smell. Those are really fun to find.
Yeah. No. What's your favorite one? Because I know too that you've given us this one, My Words, and that one also, I thought it was really cool, just exploring the different words that you were going through. So I just wondered to you, like, do you have a favorite word that describes a mood or describes something? Yeah.
A favorite word. Let's see. There's so many to choose from. Let me just try to find one favorite one from this book.
From this book, yeah.
Because I don't know that I could feel that I could find one specifically.
Yeah, no. Good morning, Soraya. How are you doing? Thank you for joining us, Sharon, as well. And yeah, and that's just a reminder to while Grant is finding that word, that everybody that's joining in, that today we are joined by author, illustrator extraordinaire Grant Snider with us here, and you can see many amazing books, that some that we read here on Storytime, including today's "Nothing Ever Happens on a Gray Day," or does it? And then of course we've read "What Sound Is Morning, What Color Is Night," and the one too written with Teresa Trinder, There Is a Rainbow, a favorite here at Storytime. We've brought it many times. So please do find these books at your local bookstore, find them at your local library, and of course, wherever else that you find books. Thank you so much for making the time to be here with us on Storytime. Thank you indeed for joining us today. Good morning to you, Pamela Courtney. You say, we love these illustrations so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela. And yeah, I did find, so this spread of the heron flying over the town,
Yes.
which is actually, to give you guys a little secret on the book, this is actually a map of the book. So the character starts at these apartments up here. She rides past these apartments with the barking dog. She comes down through the bus lot and the pool, and then rides over to the park. And then through the park, she kind of explores the woods, the creek, and through all this area. So that's a top secret thing about this book, is that page is a map. But this spread contains 8 words, and I would say 2 of them are my top of my top favorite words. The word wonder and the word moment. And I find myself using those words so much in my books, because I think wonder is just the way I feel when I walk through nature, no matter if it's a forest, the plains, which we have a lot of in Kansas where I live, the mountains, or even just a neighborhood. I'm filled with wonder at all these sights and sounds I see. And the word moment, I think, is really special, because our experience of reading, our lives outside of stories, they consist of individual moments, and making these moments the best we can, filling them with wonder, that's the way we give them power and excitement. So wonder and moment are 2 of my top 10 favorite words. I'll get back to you on the other 8 some years from now when I finally come up with that list. Yeah, great question. That's a lot of fun to think about.
No, that is wonder is a good one, and just relating that too with I know that with the coming of the Common Core and teaching, a lot of it has also been pushing to try and bring this word wonder into the classroom, so kids can engage more with the learning, can participate more, can bring their own understanding of the word, and not just it being teacher down to the students. It's like, no, how can we have conversations? How can we have spaces, equal spaces for sharing? And so it's really been interesting, like being in the classroom and seeing, especially one activity that I like is called the notice and wonder, and it's pretty much you're noticing what's around, and then what also do you wonder about that thing. And so it's been interesting to really see children's perspectives on things. And I was like, oh, and even when I've done several exercises with different groups, every time there's a new perspective that comes up that I had not thought about or had not heard with other groups, which is just so interesting, showing the power of wonder, I think, and if it's allowed to flourish in a space. So yeah, as you mentioned, bring that connection.
It's kind of what they call a suitcase word, which is you can pack so much in it, and everyone's going to pack differently.
Yes.
So one side of wonder is things that give you joy and amazement. Another side of wonder is things that make you curious, things that you can't understand, things that make you ask questions.
Yeah.
And so I think everyone will have a different experience of what gives them wonder, and where they take it, whether they use that to create a picture, whether they use that to write a story, whether they use that to ask a question in like a scientific way. There's so many directions wonder can take us.
And like just mentioning too, I know that you've mentioned the world around you, like filling you with wonder, and also like getting inspiration from that to create your books. But were there other authors or creators out there that have inspired you to this point? And maybe I'll start with that one. Were there any other authors that have inspired you or creators out there?
Oh, absolutely. And how much time do you have now? Just thinking of ones who authors and illustrators who directly inspired this book. There's a author illustrator named Beatrice Alamagna. I'm apologize if I'm not pronouncing her name properly, but I believe she's works in Italy, and she does amazing books that are all, I think, very freshly drawn. They're drawn in beautiful watercolors and collage and pencils, but they look like either a child drew them or the best artist in the world drew them. Somewhere in between that.
Yeah.
They have a very childlike feeling in the illustrations and also in the writing. And so you really feel transported into the character's journey. And she has a book called, which is actually very similar and inspired this one, called On a Magical Do Nothing Day. And that was one of the books I read and I was like, oh, I love this. I want to do something similar. And obviously my story is different in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But, oh man, I read her work and I'm just like, I love it so much.
Yeah.
The other person who I think I always come back to, as in both my picture books and my cartooning work, is the poet and cartoonist and author and illustrator Shel Silverstein. The thing I've been thinking a lot about this month is what is my poetry comics, because I've declared November Poetry Comics Month. And so reading Shel Silverstein's poems, looking at his drawings, and figure out how I can do my own version of that in comic form has been a really fun challenge for me. And if you go on my social media all throughout November, you'll see a bunch of poetry comics inspired in part by Shel Silverstein.
Yeah. And I know that you do. I mean, I've seen some of your comics where they can read top down, up, like down, up, sideways. And how fun are those to create, or how difficult are they to create?
So I think that they're always fun and a little bit difficult, but having those different visual schemes gives me a way as an artist to think about how can I tell the story differently or make the page look differently. I'm kind of steering the conversation in this direction, because in the mail 2 days ago I got this book. And so you guys are the first person outside of my own family I've shown a picture of this to. So
wow.
That's why I tried to take the conversation in this direction, because I saw that package in the mail, I opened it, and I was just jumping for joy. So
yeah,
I mean, of course I had my kids read it and got their reviews and stuff. But yeah, one page that I think fits what you're talking about is, let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, and Lynette too mentions that loves Shel Silverstein's books as well.
Yeah, this one, so you can see how I kind of used the circle pages and use kind of the different shapes of the page to help tell the story.
Yeah,
and you can do that a little bit in picture books, but it's fun in comics because you can do it all in a single image on a single page.
Yeah. No, that's he lived in Sausalito too, right there in
wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So next time you're here, Grant, we have to visit whether it's the Lynette. Is there any monument or anything that we could visit and just admire? But yeah, thanks for sharing that. But
we need to make a museum of his work there. Let's do it.
Yeah, and one of the other things too, you mentioned being an introvert, right? And but you're also a twin. So
right.
How did those two work together? And is your twin an introvert too, or how did those work together? Because I know, just talking, one of them who's here today, Oscar, that's my cousin. That's my twin, if you'd call it. We were a lot of us in the house, but Oscar was the one definitely that, wherever he was, I was, and the other way around. And so just wondering on that part for you, how was it to, how easy was it to find the time to kind of be reflective and to kind of, re-energize as most introverts need to? Yeah,
that's a very nice question, because I've never thought about it as an introvert, what it meant to have a twin.
Yeah.
So I think in conversation, at school, at a party, because we went to college together, in different social situations, I was able to step back in the background a little bit, because they see us as a unit. So if my twin Gavin if someone's asking me and my twin Gavin a question, well, Gavin's a little bit more outgoing than I am. I think he's still kind of on the introvert spectrum, I would say, but he might take the answer before I did, and I could chime in with a witty comment if I wanted to. But it definitely let me sink to the background a little bit, which I enjoy. But I do think it's also nice to have a partner in art. So I don't know if you and your cousin were like this, but my twin brother Gavin and I are very competitive in everything, whether it's sports or academics or art. So when I would make a drawing as a kid, or even now, I'd say, "Hey, Gavin, what do you think of this?" And he would say, "Oh, that's good. Oh, that's not good at all."
Yeah.
I can always trust his opinion. And then he could do the same thing to me and say, "Hey, is this good or is this not?" And I could give him an honest opinion.
Right.
And we were always constantly pushing each other to be more creative, to be more athletic, to get a better grade in a test. And I think that's kind of fun to have, as long as it's not taken too far.
Yeah, no,
it's to help me develop, because there was always somebody I feel like I could show my work to and could give me an honest opinion.
Yeah.
Is this good? Could this use some work? What do you like about it? What could be done differently? And I think that's really powerful as a creative person, to have somebody in your life who can be an honest, supportive critic of your work.
Yeah. No, I totally hear you on that. And too, one of the times, and Oscar would tell you about it too, we went to the same college, and at one point, before not, this time I was in the accounting school, he was in the education school, and with another cousin who was in the library schools unit. And so it was a bunch of us at the school, all cousins, and we played soccer, what we call interdepartment, and so we're basically playing against each other's teams.
That's awesome.
And I remember somebody asking one time, I was like, "Wait, I thought you two were cousins." Like, yeah, because of just how hard we were going at each other.
Right. You can throw a few more elbows when it's somebody you grew up with, right?
It's like extra elbows. I appreciate that.
I probably shouldn't say this on Storytime with Mr. Lamada, but my brother and I got in a fist fight in high school basketball practice.
Goodness, yeah.
I would never do that with anybody else. I'm a very, in general, hopefully a kind person, but not when it comes to my twin brother. And after saying that, I should shout out to my brother, Gavin SNIDER. You can follow him on Instagram at Gavin D Draw. He does amazing watercolor pictures of streetscapes in New York City where he lives. And he does commissions of, portraits and buildings for weddings or for people moving into a house. So yeah, he does some amazing artwork too.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for sharing that. I'll definitely be following. But yeah, thanks for sharing that. No, I feel like it is those relationships that shape us, right? And one of the things was too, like, even when we argued on our own within our bubble, nobody else was allowed to do anything to any of us. Then you see the whole group come through together. But yeah,
5 minutes later, you're best friends again, right?
Yes, exactly. So there's a question here from Chad and Pamela, and they say, "Is your twin also interested in writing and illustrating?"
So he is actually a songwriter. So he does quite a bit of writing, but not in the picture book, chapter book, comics world. And then illustrating, yeah, I would say he is a much better painter than I am. He teaches watercolor classes and does his amazing building paintings and cityscapes. And in his day job, he works as an architect. So there's a little bit of crossover there with his ability to draw buildings in perspective. Personally, when I try to draw a building, I think, why did they put so many windows in here? I get kind of tired, and I move on to drawing a tree or a person or something like that. But we have very different but complementary art styles and ideas.
Oh, I love it. You have your twin who you've definitely you feed off of each other in your creativity. One of the questions I'd like to come back to is, now you're a parent. Has that changed your art, or if so, how has it done that?
Well, I think one thing about having young kids is they say a lot of hilarious, wonderful things that help inspire, all kinds of stories. So my daughter Anna, who's now 11, but when she was finding language and figuring out how to use words and how to make sentences and eventually how to write her own words, my wife Kayla kept like a family blog of these hilarious things she would say and do, and I would jot things in my notebook. And I basically borrowed a lot of those things for my book, My Words, which I can see right above your shoulder there. So
it's a great book.
Much of that is very true to life from Anna. My other kids, just seeing them play and interact and experiment and explore the world, I'm always writing down things and kind of sketching different poses they're doing and things they find. And yeah, especially in this poetry comics book, there's a comic where my sons found a tadpole in a nearby pond.
Wow.
And so, of course, what do you do when you find a tadpole? You take it home. And I thought, I was sure as a dad, this tadpole is going to be gone or eaten by a bird or something the next day. But no, it grew in a tank that they kept in our backyard, and they fed it and eventually raised it to be a very small frog. And then we released it back into a creek near our house. So yeah, just taking these very specific moments and sharing them. And then I can kind of borrow them for my own books and stories, and hopefully a way that they can relate to and are excited about. So my son Trent was reading this book, and I have a son Logan who's a couple years younger than him. He said, "Dad, is that me or Logan in the book?" And I was like, "Oh, well, it's both of you." I combined you guys into one character and took some of your experiences, and it's also a little bit of me as well as the author and former child. So it's so much fun.
I love that. Yeah, it's such a great question too. Yeah,
they can also be very harsh critics. So, as anyone who's taught or read to young kids knows. So, I'd given Trent a copy of one of my other books for the first time, and he read it, and he looked at me very seriously after finishing it, and he said, "Dad, when are you going to do something funny?" And I said, "Yeah, someday, Trent."
Yeah, no, I love that. And talking of, like critics and people that, like shape our work or, like giving advice. I know that Kayla contributes significantly to, like to your work. So how does she do that? And how is that for you?
It's very nice, once again, to have like a very honest perspective. So I talked about Gavin, who's a person who is different from me in a lot of ways, but we have the same genetics and the same brain in many other ways. So if I write something or draw something and Gavin likes it, I know, okay, somebody who's similar to me is going to like it. Now, if I show it to Kayla, who is vastly different, more extroverted, just has different interests and experiences. And if I show something I made to her and she likes it, I think, okay, well, this maybe would appeal to somebody outside of my twin circle, and somebody with a different outlook on life. And so I know I'm onto something if I show a new story idea to Gavin and Kayla, and they both like it. So if one likes it, one doesn't, I know, hey, this may have narrower appeal, or I need to work on it. If they both don't like it, I maybe scrap it and throw it in the trash can. But if they're excited about it, I think, hey, maybe this has some potential.
Yeah. And one of the things, well, also, since Pamela Courtney is here with us as well, I just wanted to share too that Grant Snider's editor, Chronicle Books, is the amazing Ariel Richardson, and that one is a mutual friend with Pamela Courtney as well. We both love Ariel so much, and so
she's amazing. Yep, she's fantastic to work with.
Yeah, so big shout out to you, Ariel, and just amazing. And the amount of times I've reached out and just been like, "Can you help me with this? I need this." And she's like, "Yes," right away or something. It's just I really appreciate that. One of the things though that you mentioned, yes, Pamela Courtney, we do. One of the things that you mentioned in the art of living is the attention manifesto. So I like this, and I just wonder, like, with because you're introverted, and one would think it's easy for you to attend, that you may not does this work, and do you have to be deliberate in attending to things?
Yes, because like all people, I carry this thing in my pocket. So yeah, I've never thought of attention as being an introvert versus an extrovert. Maybe it's a little easier for me to be outside of a conversation or at a social event and be scribbling in my sketchbook. But I do find it very, very difficult to pay attention. So that was written kind of as a reminder to myself. Here's what can happen when you aren't checking the notifications on your phone, when you're not wondering what the score of the game is, when you're actually involved with the world around you, maybe with the sketchbook as a buffer in between you, but how much deeper and richer an experience it can be when you try to minimize some of those distractions and pay attention. So,
Yeah.
and I don't have it memorized, but there are some good points in there. One is I will leave my phone behind. One is I'll experience the world with my body and mind. So going out and running is a really fun thing for me to do. It's a time when I'm out in nature. I'm alone in my thoughts, but I'm also engaging with, you know, physical reality, running up a hill, running through a forest, stopping to make sure a car goes past, and just kind of paying attention to everything around me. And
Yeah.
amazing that when I'm out running is when some of my best ideas for a comic strip or for a poem come to me.
Yeah.
When
No.
I'm fully in the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love it. Honestly, like it was one of those things that and I haven't told anybody this yet. I think everybody today, but it is actually my birthday today.
Happy birthday, Peter.
So this book in particular, I think I've been reflecting a lot as this birthday has been coming up, and finally, you know, like is here. And what a great way to start it this morning. I deliberately did not tell you even when we were communicating. Just like,
I'm
no,
sorry I suggested this date to do it. No.
this was perfect. I was like, yes, this is a great way to start it. Story time all day, every day.
Yeah,
But
I've made a birthday cupcake too that I'll give you virtually across 2 time zones.
thank you so much. Yeah, so this just makes me think a lot too, in like, wait, how have I been going through life, and am I taking that moment to pay attention to what's in front of me? Because that's one of the things that you mentioned in here. Like, I will pay attention to what's in front of me, what's around me, and seriously, the number of times you mentioned the phone, the number of times, the time when I don't feel like I need to look at the phone is actually to avoid when my soccer teams have been playing and I'm trying to avoid seeing the score. That's the time I'm like, no. And then I actually find that I pay more attention to people in front of me. And so yeah, I need to be more deliberate about that. I really like that. And thank you, everybody. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, everybody. Yes. Yeah, no, I've been reflecting a lot these past few days as I've been approaching this birthday. But so Grant, one of the things that you mentioned in here, apart from thing, is the states of mind, and I really like that one too, just because of you mentioned so many things. You mentioned small-minded, you know, absent-minded, narrow-minded, mindless, mind expanding, out of mind, closed-minded, mindful, open-minded. So for you, when you're coming up with this, or when you think of this one, what is it that you'd like somebody to take away or think about?
Yeah, so the broad topic of that book is mindfulness. So I think I had that on my mind as I was making it, but just putting myself back, and when I was making that comic, I think I was feeling like throughout the course of a day, I have so many different states I'm in that sometimes, you know, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I've been 9 different people over the course of the day. but yet they're all parts of my mental state and my state of mind. So, and some of those are very positive states, you know, mind expanding when you're filled with that wonder, which we were discussing previously, mindful when I'm, you know, taking in how I'm feeling and thinking and what's inside of me. Some of them are also negative. So closed-minded, when I'm so wrapped up in my day, I may be ignoring the person walking behind me who needs the door held open for them because they're carrying a big stack of groceries or something. Different times like that. So I think I was just kind of channeling through all those mental states and seeing how I could represent them in a picture that hopefully gave people a bit of relatability, maybe some joy, maybe some commiseration at the same time.
Yeah. No, I love it. I mean, and I just like right now as you're talking, but I'm thinking of the 2 different kind of like Jay-Z's Empire State of Mind, or I think I want to say Don Williams, this old country, right?
I like Don Williams.
Yes, Alonso State of Mind, yes.
Right.
But just thinking about those as well. But yeah, great soundtracks, I think, both to this page.
I love that. I'd like to see them both on the same concert together. I think Don Williams is no longer with us, but
yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I was so lucky I got to see him once.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just fantastic. That's my mom's influence. Country music is my
That's
mom's
great.
influence. Every morning I woke up to country music playing.
Whether you wanted to or not, right?
Yeah, I couldn't run away from it. So like, yeah, like the number of times I woke up to Jolene was like, oh, okay. And I think Coward of the County too, Kenny Rogers was one of the
That was
ones
great. Oh yeah.
regular. And I remember the first time I heard it, I was like, oh, what's that song? And then I didn't know the title. I just heard it. I was kind of, because I kept drifting in and out of sleep. And I knew this song was on the radio. And then I think months went by, and I was just like, no, 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 no. Like I kept hamming it.
It just stuck with you, right? Right.
It was. And I think I didn't get to know the title until maybe a year later. A year later is when again it played on the radio. I was like, that's the song. And so waited for the DJ, that time, waited for the DJ to say the name, to say the title.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Yeah. And I know this is story time, not country music with Mr. Lotta, but I'll share my country story. So I grew up, my parents played the Beatles a lot, so I think I had 1960s rock and pop music ingrained in my psyche. And then when I was a kid, I would listen to kind of like angry metal, stuff where they would paint their face and scream a lot and play loud guitars. So I was a little bit of an angsty teenager. And I didn't like country whatsoever, at least I thought I didn't. And then I worked a job after my junior year of high school, framing houses for a family friend who had a construction company.
Yes.
And he played country music from 6:30 in the morning till 3:30 or whatever PM when we clocked out. And for the first month, I thought it was excruciating. I couldn't stand it at all. I was like, this is the worst thing ever. And then something clicked, and I was like, oh, I kind of like this music.
It's so much storytelling, right?
The storytelling, the songwriting, just the tune. And so ever since then, I've had country music on the rotation in my music library. So
yeah. Well, let me add one more song to that. There's a song that I've been listening to. I learned about it maybe 3 days ago. There's a guy I follow on Instagram, and his name is Dax, DAX. Okay. And he's done a song with the legend, of course, Darius Rucker. And it's called oh my goodness. I will give it to you. I will text you. I'm blanking out right now, but it is such a good song. I've been listening to it a lot of these last 3 days. Awesome. It's been on rotation. Yeah. Yesterday I got stuck in traffic going to a soccer game, and I just sat there, and this song was just on.
just play it again and again, right? That's great.
Yeah, exactly. But we do have another question too coming in from Pamela Courtney, and she's saying, as an introvert, how do you handle book fairs, school visits, etc., especially marketing your books?
I'll give kind of an ideal answer. I wish I could pay my brother to pose as me and go do these things. No. I think for an introvert, in whether it's in a professional situation like that or just in any social life, you have to find something that fits with your own personality. So if I tried to go on stage and get the crowd hyped up and jump around and yell and scream, I think very soon I'd be exhausted, and the kids would see right through that. But if I come at it from a little more laid back, calming, introverted presence, and just try to share my excitement through my natural personality, that can make it fun for me and still relatable to the kids. So I think sometimes it can be a challenge, as an introvert, to be on stage, trying to project that excitement and enthusiasm for an hour to some restless second graders. But when I'm focusing more on just being myself and channeling my own excitement through my slightly more laid back personality, then it becomes fun for me. And book marketing is the same way. I'm not a person who posts 5 times a day on social media, but if I post a few times a week and I keep it, just within what I'm excited about, and what I feel is like a natural form of communication, then I think it can be a pretty enjoyable experience.
Yeah. Oh, love that. Thank you, Pamela Courtney, for that. Brilliant question. Another one too that I was thinking about was you've done a lot of your books author illustrated, but you've also worked with others. I know Teresa Trinder for one. And so just wondering, how are those experiences for you? When you juxtapose the two, what do you like about them, or maybe what do you not like about each one?
Yeah, so I consider myself an author illustrator first, in the sense that that's what I did with my own cartoons and comics for a decade before I got into the picture book world.
Mm-hmm.
So when I have a beautiful text like Teresa Trender's for There's a Rainbow, or another one of my authors, Travis Yonker, for his book called Blue Floats Away,
yes,
I feel a lot more pressure, because here's somebody who's poured out their energy and their life experience to create a beautiful story and beautiful words, and now I need to make sure my pictures live up to that vision. And so I'm very proud of those books. I'm very proud of how they pair with the author's text, but I feel immensely more pressure in doing that. But still, it's a very fun diversion, to do that too. Yeah. Now, when I'm making my own work, I sometimes am a little bit of two minds about it. Some days the words are going great, some days they're not. Some days the pictures are going great, sometimes they're not. So I get to yell at myself, both as an author and an illustrator, hey, make sure this is working. But it's a different kind of pressure, because I know it all eventually comes back to me. Eventually I'd love to take it in a little bit different direction too, and write a story that somebody else illustrates. So I've had a few story ideas that I think would pair well with the work of some other great illustrators, and I'm curious to see how that comes into play. Yeah.
Would you want to name some of those, like who you would like to illustrate your work?
If they're listening right now, no. I have a friend named Daniel Miares who does. He lives in Kansas as well and does some great work. And I think it would also be fun. So Travis Yonker, who wrote the book that I illustrated, he also is an illustrator, and this came out with his own author illustrator picture book he did entirely on his own. So I think it would be fun to flip that switch and say, okay, I'm going to write the book now, Travis, you can illustrate it. I don't know that that's ever been done before. So
yeah, no, that's an interesting one. Yeah,
I've yet to send him an email posing that challenge. So we'll see how that goes.
I love it. Do you have any insight into why he may have chosen for you to illustrate the previous book?
Yeah. So that one worked a little bit differently. So if you know much about the kids publishing world, it kind of works a little bit weird in the sense that for the majority of books, the author and illustrator never meet or collaborate. They never even exchange messages until the book is either all the way done or completely done, or almost completely done. In that case, it was the opposite. Travis and I had followed each other's work for a long time. Yeah. We met at a couple conferences and communicated over email and social media. And Travis said, hey, I like this comic you drew. Would you like to take that style and put it with the story I wrote? And I said, that sounds difficult. And then I said, yes, let's do it. It sounds amazing. And it worked out through our mutual publisher at Abrams Books. So, but it doesn't always work that way. Usually you're in two separate closed silos that don't connect. So
that don't connect. Yeah. Oh, well, Grant, I mean, as you know, I could talk to you forever. So
I want to talk with you, Peter. Yeah.
It's so enjoyable. Just learning so much from you too. And Pamela Courtney, what must the manuscript have for you to say yes to being the illustrator?
That's an interesting question, because I've only had a few manuscripts come across my desk that saying, hey, will you illustrate this? So I think I think everyone would be quite different. I think it would have something that fills me with a sense of wonder, that inspires me to just right away start imagining a character, the world of the book, the story they might encounter. And that gets me over that initial, I would say maybe fear as an illustrator of how am I gonna live up to this author's vision and voice and make this something even better than their words alone. So yeah, just a feeling of inspiration and almost a strike of lightning, I think, would be the ideal feeling for seeing a manuscript.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, no, that's brilliant. Thank you. And also just because of time, honestly, there's so much that I still want to cover. We have to have you back here soon. Just what is, there's young people who are listening, who you're inspiring, and other creators out there too being inspired, I'm sure, by your work. I'm inspired by your work. So just wondering, what are some words of wisdom that you have for people out there, in addition to the many words of wisdom that you have in your book?
I'll just reiterate the sketchbook, the notebook, whether you're a doodler, whether you're a writer, just having that place to put your stray ideas. I'm guilty of being somebody who has an amazing idea. Maybe I'm lying in bed trying to fall asleep, and I get the zing of inspiration. Well, I'll remember that tomorrow morning, and I never do. So carry that notebook in your pocket, bring it to your friends' birthday parties. Happy birthday, Peter, again.
Yeah, thank you.
Bring it to school, bring it on the bus, but always have that place to put your ideas. And then whenever you're inspired, filled with a sense of wonder, you'll be able to carry that to when you sit down to the writing table or the drawing table to make your own story, make your own work. And then just another thing is never feeling like your own experience is not enough to make a story out of. So in Nothing Ever Happens on a Gray Day, the book I read to you guys earlier, it's a very ordinary day in an ordinary neighborhood in an ordinary life. But yet there's moments of amazement, excitement. There's visual inspiration there. There's something to make a story. So taking those little bits of your life and feeling like they're powerful enough to make something great, I think is just a really big takeaway I'd like to leave with you today.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. Thank you, Reedy, for saying that and just putting out that wisdom. I appreciate you. And again, to everybody that was joining in today, just a reminder that today we did have with us on Storytime the amazing Grant Snider, and amazing books that he's done, that he's created. And we wish you, Grant, many more books to come. We hope that we get, to still enjoy your work going forward. And of course, we've had so many of them here. What Sound is Morning, What Color is Night. We've read the collaboration with Teresa Trinder, There Is a Rainbow. And we've also had, which one am I missing out here? Oh, Nothing Ever Happens on a Gray Day, or does it? Well, we're clearly showing that it does today. Thank you so much.
One more thing, Peter.
Yes, please.
I just, back in, I think it was during the pandemic when I first heard about Storytime with Mr. LaMotta, I saw you had read What Color is Night, and I was just so excited because I think you were probably the first person, aside from myself, I'd seen read my story to an audience. So that was so moving as a first-time picture book author illustrator. And that just gave me so much energy and excitement, especially during kind of a closed off time that was hard for everybody to navigate. So just how much joy that brought me to see you first read that book. It's been inspiring and has really kept me going ever since.
Oh, I love that book. I just love it. I think even now, like, there's so many. I think my favorite spread in that one is the silver moon twice, or like that. The
white moon twice, the reflection of the moon in the pond. Right?
Yeah, I love that part. I love that part.
Thank you. Well, thank you for being an inspiration to readers and authors and illustrators everywhere.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that for sure. And then too, just a reminder too that this week's Storytime is looking at, we're bringing in amazing books. Of course, we've had Grant Snider here with us today, and we looked at Nothing Happens on a Gray Day. Tomorrow we'll have How Does our Food Grow? So yes, something to think about, and we'll be looking at that tomorrow. And then of course we do have Can I Sit With You will be coming from Sarah Jacoby. That's another favorite here on Storytime. Evelyn Del Rey is Moving Away is another one that we'll bring. And brand new to Storytime, Great White Shark. Yes, that one of the most misunderstood animals in the world. We will be covering that on Friday. So please do join us and find out what that story is all about. And then tomorrow, we're out and about with my good friend Nadia Solomon. We will be out at Walnut Creek right here in the Bay. We will be at Barnes & Noble admiring all the new releases, brand new books that will be there. And we'll just be going around and going crazy about books. So if you're nearby, come and join us in Walnut Creek at Barnes & Noble tomorrow at 11. And of course, if you're not, we will be streaming it on the socials. So be sure to catch us then as well. But today it's been about this book, and of course the gentleman that joined us today, Grant Snider. Nothing Ever Happens on a Gray Day. And this amazing book is out. Find it at your local library. Ask for it. Libraries are there. They're really your resources. And of course, use your local bookstores. Support the small bookstores as well, the indie bookstores. Grant, what's your indie bookstore in your area?
The Watermark Books and Cafe in Wichita, Kansas. They've been a great support of local authors and have some great author events. So if you guys are ever in town, stop by there. Say hi to Sarah and the rest of the people at Watermark. They're amazing.
Oh, love it. Love it. Thank you so much. Just say it one more time. Watermark.
Watermark Books and Cafe. Yep.
Yes, so we know where it is. Thank you so much for sharing. And once again, a big thank you to everybody that was joining in here. Oscar Managulanga out in Lusaka. Oh, in Katete, Zambia. Thank you so much for being here. Quincy and of course, Lynette out in Marine, right close by. Thank you so much for joining us here on Storytime. Pamela, Courtney, Chad, thank you for joining us. And of course, Auntie Anne, sending love to you as well. Braylon, sending you hugs as well out there in Nakitash, Louisiana. Thank you so much for joining us on Storytime. Soraya and of course Sharon Lungo, have yourselves a wonderful day out here in Oakland. Please remember to carry your rain jackets and everything else that you need because it is rainy out there. And please be safe on the road. Drive a little bit slower today. The roads can be slippery on on rainy days like this. Thank you so much for joining us here on Storytime. Pamela, Courtney, always appreciate you. Kathy, thank you for joining us out there in Ohio. And of course, Ari and Megan, who'll be joining us later on for the recording at 11. Well, thank you so much, Ari and Megan out in Kentucky, sending you lots of hugs and hopefully see you back live tomorrow when we're back at 6 a.m. So tomorrow Storytime reverts back to 6 a.m. Pacific time. So as you know, when we have guests, we usually move it to 7 a.m. So thank you so much for joining us here on Storytime. Nchimunyangandu all the way out in Zambia, Lusaka, Zambia. Thank you so much for joining us here on Storytime. I hope that you enjoyed the story that we had. Thank you for being here. And I hope that you have a lovely, lovely day out there. Thank you, everybody, for all the birthday wishes. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime. This has been Storytime on this lovely, lovely Monday morning. This has been Storytime on my birthday with a special guest, Grant Snyder. Wouldn't have it any other way. And of course, as Ari puts it, the morning ingredients are complete. We have everybody here. You all here make it a special place. You make this space a wonderful space. Thank you for being accepting. Thank you for pushing and critiquing and challenging everything that we do to make sure that we are in this space that welcomes everybody and that indeed challenges us to think critically about our world and what's happening and how we contribute to that. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you again tomorrow for more Storytime. Grant, I'll catch you in the back of the studio. Thank you. Please do not go away. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. That was our wonderful guest, Grant Snyder. This has been Storytime for today. I'll see you again tomorrow for more Storytime. Much love from me. This has been Storytime today. Bye-bye.
Storytime with Mr. Limada. He will be starting soon. Oh, Storytime with Mr. Limada, where all your dreams come true. Oh, he brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't leave lonely. Won't you start all the reading? I just can't wait to be hearing Storytime with Mr. Lamada. He will be starting soon. Oh, Storytime with Mr. Lamada, where all your dreams come true. Oh, he brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't leave lonely. Won't you start all the reading? I just can't wait to be hearing. Oh, he brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't live lonely. Won't you start all the reading? We just can't wait to be hearing. Brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't live